Okay, we'll give it a minute. I see the numbers jumping, so let's allow more people to join us before we start. Okay, let's get started. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, whichever part of the world you're joining us from. Thank you for being here and welcome to the webinar. I will start off the presentation to share with you the topic that we are all very interested in, which is what do ESSEC do with corporate partners. So it will be part of the program that you'll be doing industry projects, and I'll be sharing some of those with you. Okay, so what do we mean by industry projects? These are obviously, ESSEC being a French business school, we are very innovative in our approach, and learning by doing is a basic principle that we go by. And what better way for you to demonstrate your learning by doing than to be in an actual industry project. So industry projects are where we partner top companies in Asia, obviously, because the team that you're seeing here is from ESSEC APAC campus. And these projects are all student-led consulting projects. That's very important because it is through the projects that you get to really use the skills that you learn in class and extending your experience beyond the classroom. So what you do in these projects, you are solving real business challenges. So the corporate partners that partner with ESSEC for industry projects, they would share a real business challenge that they are facing. And the show is all yours in helping them to find a solution. And it depending on which which program you're enrolled in, I'm sharing with you at a glance the industry projects that are slotted for this academic year, which is the same every year. Which means if you're in the Master in Management program, there is a Asian Strategy Consulting Project. In short, we call it ASCP. Asian Strategy Consulting Project is unique among the four in the sense that the Asian Strategy Consulting Project is a track on its own, which means that if you are in the Asian Strategy Consulting Project, ASCP, you will start off with 2 weeks of classroom learning. Thereafter, you are 100% devoted to the projects. You'll be working closely with your mentors, and I would have a slide for each of the project to share more details with you. Now, if you are a student in the Master in Strategy and Management of International Business, in short, we call that SMIP, so you may have heard SMIP, in about T1 to T3, you will be engaged in an Asian Strategy Challenge. So if you're wondering why the Asian Strategy Consulting Project is only in T1, whereas the Asian Strategy Challenge stretches from T1 to T3, is because with the exception of Asian Strategy Consulting Project, all students in the other programs, you are doing the project in addition to your classroom learning. What else? For Master in Management students, you are 100% devoted just to the project, right? If you're a student in Master of Science in Marketing Management and Digital, you will be engaged in a Digital Marketing Challenge. This is usually one of the most exciting projects on ESSEC APAC campus, and very soon we'll know why when I go into the details of the project. And if you're a student in the Bachelor of Business Administration, the BBA, if you're in the International Business Education Alliance track, we call it IBEA in short. So if you are in the IBEA track, you will also be involved in an industry project. And that is called the Asian Company Challenge, which again stretches over 2 terms in T2 to T3, because again, you are doing the project in addition to your classroom learning. So let's first look at the Asian Strategy Consulting Project. Remember, I said that this is the old project that is unique among the 4, because this is the only project where students do 2 weeks classroom learning. Thereafter, you're 100% devoted to the project. So the Asian Strategy Consulting Project, ASCP, what it does is it trains students and it gives you the experience, the full 2.5 months of experience of working like a consultant, which is why you're full-time attached to the client company. And you may already know this, the ASCP is a unique project that is in collaboration between ESSEC and a consulting firm, the Capgemini Event. So students that are in this project will be guided by both a coach from Capgemini Event as well as a professor from ESSEC. For ASCP, we deal with businesses in the region. So it is never limited to only companies present in Singapore, but the fact that it is Asian, the companies could actually be located anywhere within Asia. We're also very happy to share with you some of the partners that we've worked with over the year. So the edition 13 that just ended, we worked with companies like BNP Paribas, which I'm sure you are familiar with, EDF, which is a huge company in France, and a sustainability company called Label for Recycling. We also had a Matcha Initiative, which is another very corporate social responsible setup. Trigo that deals with also sustainability and innovative solutions, and not forgetting Widows that was quite new in the market. They deal with bamboo products. So these are the kind of companies that we typically work with in an ASCP project. In the Asian Strategy Challenge, and these are for students in the Master in Strategy and Management of International Business, it is a 7-month-long project. And remember what I said just now, it's a 7-month that stretches from T1 to T3 because during this 7 months, you are also attending classes. So you will not be expected to devote 100% of your time on the project, but there are still expected deliverables. If you look at the companies that we work with like this round, we're working with CapitaLand, which is a huge company in Singapore. Names that you'll be familiar with, like Decathlon, DHL. So they will also have a company liaison that will guide you on the expectations and outcomes that you should be delivering at the end of the project, right? And you will, of course, be guided with the expectation in terms of the number of meetings with the corporate client and how do you plan the 7 months so that you successfully complete the project with the expected deliverable. If you're a student in the Master of Science in Marketing Management and Digital, if you are already looking at this program, you probably know that this program has 2 specific tracks, the Luxury Management track and the Digital Marketing track. Whether you're in the Luxury Management track or the Digital Marketing track, you will actually be involved in a Digital Marketing Challenge. So the entire cohort of students will come together and work on a 6-week mission. So again, the 6-week in comparison to the ASC 7 month looks like it's very intense. But again, within 6 weeks, your class schedule will be arranged in such a way that it will give you enough opportunities and time for you to focus on the project deliverable. I'm very happy to say that just last month, we kickstarted the current edition of the Digital Marketing Challenge. And again, you would see names that you are familiar with for companies who joined us this year and last year, like Accor, which is a very huge hotel chain. Now, if you are in the Bachelor of Business Administration, BBA, and you are with the International Business Education Alliance, IBEA track, then you will be involved in the Asian Company Challenge. In short, we call it ACC. We just launched the current edition of ACC last week, much to a lot of excitement from the students. And that's because this year is very interesting. We had companies like Savasia that deals with cheese and butter. So students in that project actually gets the opportunity to visit them and understand how the whole cheese making process is. And that is really a very precious opportunity when you're located in Asia. So for the Asian Company Challenge, it is again a 3-month project because you will be working on projects on top of your regular classes. For the unique thing about the Asian Company Challenge is the focus is very specific on e-business and e-commerce. So all the companies that you see here, the projects that they bring forward for the students to work on must have an e-business and e-commerce or e-commerce component to it. Of course, if you're in the ACC, you will also be guided by an ESSEC coach And the coach is the coach actually validates the project together with the program team to ensure that the project that the customers, the corporate clients bring on board aligns with the theme for the specific project. Now, the other very exciting part of ESSEC programs that all of you may also be interested about and already know a little bit about would be the chair program. So the chair program, again, is ESSEC's way of working with the corporate industry in creating the ecosystem for our students, because your experience should extend beyond what you learn in the classroom. So these are very close collaboration with the corporate and students that are in a chair program. The objective is to develop innovative skills specific to that sector. What we hope to achieve in a chair program is that there should be new knowledge and solutions, and it should specifically address the business challenges in that industry or in the sector that the chair sponsor is in. So let's look at the numbers for today. There are total 24 chair programs available. 19 of them are teaching chairs and 5 of them are research chairs. Currently, we have about 1,000 applicants, and the admission rate is about 50% of the application. The pedagogical program starts in January every year till June, so it's about 6 months. And the recruitment starts in fall, which is September to October. You will be eligible if you are in the master program or the global BBA program in your final year. And we typically recruit about 20 to 60 students per chair program. In my next slide, and this is my last slide, we are sharing with you a link to all the chair programs in ESSEC, and you would see that the chairs are very much organized or categorized by a specific purpose. So if you're interested in digital business, these are the chairs programs available to you. Luxury and beauty, always very, very popular for ESSEC program. Obviously, LVMH chair is something that we hear a lot about that students are very interested in. Or you may want to be leading a beauty brand chair, which is under Estee Lauder. If you're interested in management and society, again, L'Oreal is our partner for this, and the other chairs that is available. Entrepreneurship and innovation, again, you will see familiar names, and very interestingly, there's also a social innovation chair. Health, food, and sports is definitely a trending topic, something that's very much up and coming. So in the health, food, and sports chair program, you actually see more names than just 2 companies that's there. IT, data, and operations, again, something that is very necessary in whatever job that you want to look for upon graduation. Of course, we do not forget that there's always the public and private policy. So whether you're in the public sector or in your private sector, there is always a space for policy development. And being a responsible business school, there's always the chairs for philanthropy, and that, so that's the philanthropy chair. That would be my last slide, and I am very happy to be here presenting this to you. I will now hand you over to Joe Escobede, a good friend of ESSEC. Joe has done lots of teaching with us, and Joe will lead the discussion for the rest of the session. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you so much, Stella. Really appreciate you kicking it off. And thank you guys so much. I was looking at who's joining. Really, really appreciate it. We have Claire, Clarissa, Lucas, Satish, all of you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And thanks for joining us on LinkedIn and wherever you're watching. We really appreciate it. Now that you've heard a little bit about the program, we'd love to take you through what it's actually like. And in order to find out real life experiences, let's go ahead and introduce our panelists for today. So if I could ask you guys to introduce yourselves a little bit to share kind of your experience of the program. Let's go ahead and kick it off with Harshit.
Thanks, Joe. Welcome, everyone. My name is Harshit Agrawal, and I am an ESSEC alumni. I joined ESSEC back in 2018 in the Singapore campus in the Masters in Management program. I did the JCE in Singapore campus, followed by a track. I did the Innovation and Entrepreneurship track back in 2019, and then got some corporate experience in Singapore itself, where I worked as an intern in Airbus for 6 months. Following 2019, I moved to the main campus in Cergy in France, and I did the Accenture chair. After that, I took up some more courses and then did back-to-back internships in Paris itself, in Uber and in BNP Paribas. Currently, I'm based in Dublin. I'm working as a strategy and planning analyst in MongoDB. Very happy to have you here, and I look forward to this session to share more of my experience.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing. It sounds like you've been all over the world. So thank you so much for sharing that. Yuqiao, I'd love to hear about your experience as well, too.
Hello, guys. My name is Yuqiao, and I just completed the Master of Marketing Management Digital. And last year, I was involved in the DMC, the Digital Marketing Challenge with Cartier. So, and I'm former student ambassador. And I just finished the compulsory internship with Shopee. And then now I'm working at Phillip Capital. It's a financial company as a digital marketing analyst. Yeah.
Nice. Congratulations. So guys, I would love to hear a little bit more about your experience with some of the corporate chairs. What was it actually like? Can you maybe take us through that? Maybe Harshit?
Yes, I can start here. So I did the analytics chair, which is in partnership with Accenture. I would say the best part about this chair on any chair in ESSEC is that it is a good mix of course, classroom studies, but then the practical application as well. So for me, of course, like as the name sounds, it was all about analytics. So just to give a short overview, I was actually working for a client named Danone. It is in the FMCG market. It's a big player back in Europe. And the task was that me and my group was given a real life challenge from Danone, and we were asked to, of course, work with data and then present our results to the clients. So whatever studies we were doing in classroom in terms of how we can actually leverage data and use that in real life scenarios, we actually did that in that 6-month chair, the Accenture chair. Of course, I would say the good part was that we got to meet external clients, and we got to go out and meet with people from Danone and, of course, from Accenture. But what really stood out for me was the fact that we were coached by real life Accenture employees. So me and my group were given a business coach and a data coach. So this really helped us to, of course, work around with the data and see how best we can use that data to help solve the client's problem. But then, of course, a big chunk of it was how to present that data in a business sense. So that is where the business coach came into picture, and we were told how best we can present our results, actually give our solutions to them. Apart from this, well, the chair also included a lot of guest lectures and a lot of ESSEC alumni who now work in different industries. They came over to campus, and or at times we went to their companies and attended those guest lectures, where we went through what their companies are doing, how actually they shifted from a business school to a real-time corporate world. So that exposure was really important for me, which I am leveraging right now in my current position. And needless to say, well, not everyone gets a chance to be a part of a chair at ESSEC, so it's pretty competitive. The seats are limited, but then it's all about your motivation, how badly you want to join a chair. And I believe I had that motivation, so I did get a chance to join this chair, which was very, very unique for me and really helped me along with my career.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing experience. Like you said, you were able to translate what you learned in the classroom to the real world in a business context. I think this is amazing. I'd love to hear more about kind of what is kind of skills you learned going forward and so on. But Yuqiao, I'd love to hear your experience. What was it like? What did you learn?
I think last year, just like what I just mentioned about, there's a DMC, the Digital Marketing Challenge, and I work with Cartier. I think at that time, like there's an e-commerce awareness that Cartier wanted to build in the nearby countries, and then the marketing initiatives to be like planned out, and then we need to have the whole I think 6 months, the marketing plan to be out, and then to have a shout out on the e-commerce stores in the nearby countries. And I think during the 6 to 8 weeks challenge, I think we have a Cartier's the manager and also the analyst around us, and then to have every week we will have a catch up meeting on so to check about the progress, and then what we have already completed and what we have already been planned to let them to have an idea on what we are working on. And I think the takeaways, or like the something that I learned is, is to bring a marketing plan to be vividly present to them, and then to actually let them to buy in what we suggested. I think this is something that we need to learn in the real life experiences too, like, because in the corporate world, it's also about maybe you come up with a marketing plan and then you ask for the budget, but how you can let the stakeholders to trust whether this plan is working out. So I think the DMC, or the marketing plan that we have already did, and also the meeting with the KTS stakeholder, actually help us to be considerate on what we can actually achieve on the corporate world.
I think it's a great point, because, we're in the classroom, obviously you're giving presentations to your professors and your classmates, but to do that in a business room, in a boardroom, it's a slightly different scenario. So getting the opportunity to learn some of those things firsthand, I think is a great opportunity for careers. Harshit, I'd love to hear back from you. You talked about some of the things like getting connections and the coaches, but how do you think the experience really helped in terms of your overall career development, what you're doing today?
I think it's all about the exposure in the first place, because as like the main aim is exposure and to work in an international environment. For sure, like we have a lot of different nationalities sitting in one classroom when we are at ESSEC. We take a lot of different courses. We interact with super. I believe that exposure where we can deal with corporate and can actually what's itself. I believe that is what the chair gave to me. I wanted to be in the industry, balance dealing with data, of course, translating that into language. The Accenture was analytics and how and where I need to use what kind of language skills I need to have, what kind of different tools I'm supposed to said. So what is the main answer they're looking for in their questions. So I believe that next step and the chair actually not only the
So Harshit, sorry, you're cutting out there for a little bit. I heard a couple different things. You talked about tools, obviously working with people from different nationalities. I think it's one of the definitely pros of ESSEC is it's such a multicultural environment. Yeah. Your classmates from all over the place, and also going back to Stella's slide, you saw the amount of companies that are available. Not only the top French companies, but companies in Singapore and so on. So I guess it sounds like the diversity in terms of the people you're working with, in terms of the companies. Yeah. And also, like I said, the tools and stuff you were able to learn kind of on the projects.
True. I would say, as I said before, right, I was working with Danone, a big FMCG player in the market. But then I had my friends or my other chairmates who were working on projects with different clients. So it was not just one company whom we partnered with. It was around 10 to 12 companies, and then the advantage we all sit in the same classroom. We know what's happening in those companies, which we're working on a project for, and then issues. And then it was all about understanding what is happening in their industries, and then learning the best out of them.
That's a very good point. The fact you worked with Danone, which is FMCG, and then Accenture, which is in consulting, two very, very different worlds. So you can, for a lot of students, and they're kind of wondering which career should I take? Should I join consulting? Should I join FMCG? And I think, going through these projects, it sounds like you have a much better idea in terms of, where you want to go in terms of career, but also, like you said, seeing the parallels between the two and saying, okay. Here's what I learned in FMCG, and here's how I can apply it to Accenture and consulting and vice versa. So those kind of cross-parallel industry learnings, it sounds like something you really took away from the experience.
I did, and maybe a point which I would like to add here is that, of course, it gave me a good overview of different industries and gave me an understanding of which industry I should go for. But a big part was it just told me which industry I shouldn't go for. So my interest, it's all about finding the right fit for myself, the right role as well. So that overview of working for different gave me a good understanding of where I want to be and where I don't want to be in the long run. So that was helpful as well.
That's a very, very fair point. I mean, there's a couple of different ways you could go about it. You could start your career and then, join multiple companies or quit and things like that. But obviously, it's not going to be too helpful when it talks about your CV and your career development. But through this opportunity, you got to experience, okay, this is an industry I like. This is an industry, maybe it's not, a fit for me, but maybe for my classmates, they could pursue something like that. So really narrowing that list in terms of where you wanted to focus on sounds like it was something that was helpful for you.
Yes.
Wonderful. Yuqiao, I'd love to hear from your experience as well. You talked about, being able to present to some of these stakeholders, how to get buy-in, how to maybe convince them and influence them. Were there any other career development skills or experiences that you took away from that, your projects?
I think just like previously Harshit mentioned about there is always the teamwork that we can bring in, and then we can take away from the DMC challenge that I'm just mentioned about. I think first of all, we are like in the ESSEC, the Asia Pacific campus. I think we have a lot of people from the different countries. Like we have Indonesian, we have French, we have Europeans, and then we have Chinese. So I think we have a very big team of the people from the different nationalities, and then it may have the different styles. They may have the different styles. So I think it's may vary from the different case scenarios that you work with the different people. But how we can bring the synergy is during the teamwork is something that is a takeaway from the KTS projects. And then because everyone has their potentials in the specific areas or the specific expertise, so I think that's maybe in the real corporate world that we can utilize on each stakeholder's expertise to explore or like to bring the synergies into the workplace. So I think that's something that I learned in the KT's DMC challenge is like we need to leveraging on each other and then to bring a better results, not just working individually. And I think that's how marketing works too, because marketing is just like, sometimes it's more about communication and also bringing all the very talented people together to finish a project and then to continue to, to have a bright future or like a plan in the company.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And once again, I think it's something we try to do at ESSEC in the classroom is try to bring together people from different maybe nationalities or expertise and then have them collaborate. Because to your point, this is what you're doing. If you're working in a multinational, which if you saw the list that Stella had earlier, most of these are multinational. So you'll have people from all over the world. And going back to your point, you'll realize when you're working with, people from East or West or wherever it is, there's different cultural nuances that you have to be aware of, different sensitivities that you have to keep in mind. So it sounds like, in addition to the classroom, through these projects, that collaboration, you were able to maybe discover more about how different nationalities work and, how to work better with them. It sounds like something as well. And then you mentioned expertise because you talked about marketing. In marketing, you're working with multiple stakeholders. So maybe someone's good at design, maybe someone's good at strategy, maybe someone's like Harshit who's good at analytics. So bringing all these different people to say, okay, how can we come together and, create, the best experience for the customer? So I'd love to hear, is there any particular time or story where you found like, you were able to discover more about, different people or different expertise, and that helped you, put together a great presentation or a great strategy? Was there any specific time that really strikes you?
I think it's like when we put in all our thoughts and then our ideas on the deck, when we're presenting to the CATIA at the final presentation during the DMC. I think first of all, it's like it's not a stereotype, but I think like Chinese, like in our team, the Chinese are more focusing on more the analytics part, and then we bring the data together, and then to have a like a market research as a background. Then I think the teammates from the European, like from the West, I think they are more good at the creativity and then and also the presentation. So I think that's how we bring up the deck together and then to allocate the tasks accordingly, and then everyone can save their time, but also like to have their expertise on whatever the things that they are good at. So I think that's how we can complete a very comprehensive marketing plan in a very short time too.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I think that makes sense, like taking the best of both worlds, combining them. So you have the analytics side and you have a strong story, because, when you're selling it into the stakeholders, as you mentioned, you can't have one without the other. You can't have a great presentation with no substance in it, and you can't have amazing substance and then no one can present it to the stakeholder. So you kind of have to combine the two. It sounds like you guys have done that quite well. Harshit, I'd love to hear from you. Is there any particular time that struck out to you? Maybe a memorable story that you'd like to share from your experience?
Yeah, I have one actually. So one of the professors actually who was teaching us in the chair, one of the subjects, pretty, I would say, amazing professor. He came from Belgium. And he said that, okay, well, there was a task that he gave us. He said that we were supposed to actually write a piece of code in R. R is a language which we use to code in. And he said that he gave us a task wherein we just had to find some numbers. There was a case that we were working on, and it was just the entire class, so not just me or my group, but the entire class. It was a class activity. He made it interesting by actually asking us to beat his score. So at the end of the, I would say, the little code snippet that we were supposed to write, he said that whatever the result you get should be more than what he actually got by his code. And whoever beat him in that number would get full marks in that subject, and others would then get ranked accordingly in the class and would get those marks. So I would say, of course, like R was a challenge for us. The language was new, but then he made it very interesting, because then what it did was we firstly, of course, learned the language better. We focused a lot more in learning it. And secondly, the aim was to beat everyone in the classroom. So we did our own research. We went out and spoke to students who were before, like the past year students who actually tried to beat him, or maybe some of them did beat him, and then try to write our code snippets, compare the scores with everyone in the classroom, and then on the deadline they submitted that score. Of course, I wasn't able to beat him, but there were some other students in the classroom who did beat the professor and got the full marks. So a very, I would say, a short experience, a small experience, but then this is how the professors really engage with the students and try to make it interesting, try to ensure that we just don't, just take or copy codes from here and there. It is all about how much effort we actually put in, what is the real learning there, and then also, compare it with the others in the classroom. So that is something which has stayed back so far, and it was a good experience.
Yeah, I love that story. I would have to try that with my students, the competition. I think it's good advice for everyone listening to today's session. How do you inspire people and motivate them? Competition is a great way. So thank you so much for sharing that story. And thank you guys so much for the questions coming in. Guys, if you have questions, let us know in the Q&A. We'd love to answer them. Our first question comes from Arshdeep. He says, thank you for your presentation, Harshit. Would really like to know what tools you keep yourself motivated through the chairs and bagging great internships?
That's a very good question, Arshdeep. Well, the analytics chair, as I said, just dealt with a lot of analytics languages and tools. So for a start, well, SQL was the basic language that we worked on, but then we switched on to R and to Python. I would say R and Python are the ones who which are widely used across the industry and by many companies now. For me, R and Python both were new, so it was a very good chance for me to actually learn these languages in the classroom. And as I said, I did implement these languages as part of my project for Danone as well, which was in partnership with Danone and working with Accenture coaches. Apart from that, well, this was the language bit of it, but then we did work on the presentation part. So the data visualization tools. I personally used Power BI. Power BI is not too different from Tableau in terms of how we actually present our data in terms of dashboards and different sheets to our customers. But then the data part is one thing, but then we need to understand that the clients just do not understand data. I could not go to my client and say, hey, this much percentage of whatever data is what is useful for you. It's all about how I could determine the business sense from that data. And that is what I did. So the chair actually did focus on how best I could translate that data knowledge to the business knowledge. And that is where I use Power BI a lot to build those charts, those dashboards, and to convey my message to the clients. So yeah, like these were the tools and languages which we used a lot in the chair. But then, as I said, we were just not limited to these tools. Again, we were open to experiment different tools if we wanted to take help from the professors or from chair alumni as well to use other tools.
Awesome. Harshit, hopefully that answers your questions. Carl, Claire, Clarissa, the alliteration here. Alchun, if you guys have any questions, let us know in the Q&A or the chat. We would love to answer those. Like I said, we're here for you. We have our third representative here today. Madeline, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Sorry, I'm late.
All good, all good. We were just sharing some stories from our our chair project experiences. I would love to hear, is there any story that really stands out during your experience?
Sorry, is it my internet that's lagging?
No, I think you're good.
Sorry, am I lagging? Is my internet not stable?
You're okay.
Give me a second. Let me find another meeting room.
Okay. So like I said, guys, if you have any other questions, do let us know. Otherwise, I'd love to hear, for the folks who are listeners today, what advice would you give them for those who are interested in the program? Harshit, what are your thoughts?
Well, the first advice which I usually give to the students is that come with an open mind, because ESSEC is a very diverse program. You have so many options that at some point you will be bound to get confused with the amount of options you'll have at hand. You wouldn't know if I should go for a chair or an internship or an exchange. There's so many things to choose from. I would advise that it is fine to be confused. Once you're there, as you go along with things will fall in place. Because I was there back in 2018. I was the one trying to figure out what to do next. The tension was always there, how to get that next internship. And then, of course, after graduation, how to get that job that provides stability. But then what I really love about ESSEC is that there's so much diversity in terms of not only the educational front, where you have so many courses to choose from and so many professors to interact with, but then your peers, your classmates, and the outside classroom learning is a lot in ESSEC. That really opens doors to a lot of opportunities. And like for me, it was all about networking, and this is what the chairs, the different tracks helped me with, wherein I got a good overview of how could I actually interact with different professionals in the industry, learn from them, understand what they are doing in their position, try to get that perspective, and then use it in my interviews when I was interviewing for internships and for jobs. So it's all about learning as we go. So come with an open mind. It is good that you are confused while at ESSEC. It means you are learning. It means that you are in the right direction. Talk to a lot of people at ESSEC. It's all about how much you interact with your classmates, your peers, the alumni, your professors. For me, like I was also a student ambassador, and I stayed in ESSEC for almost 3 years. So for 3 years, I was working as an ambassador. I got a chance to interact with a lot of people along the way, and this is all I share every time. Is just that it's all about what you can do while you are at ESSEC. There's a lot to choose from, lot to take in, but at the end, it all just falls into place. So of course, patience is the key. But if you are getting this chance to experience the life at ESSEC, I would just say just go for it, and then wait and watch how everything turns for you.
Awesome. So I got two key takeaways, one of which it sounds like ESSEC is a buffet. You have all these different opportunities available. It's, kind of up to you to decide which one you want to path to take. And the second thing you mentioned that stood out to me was this concept of networking and building relationships and getting access to the people you wouldn't necessarily get access to. That's a lot of people forget is, we have some great guest speakers in our classes, but to work with some of these professionals on a regular basis opens up so many doors, either, like you said, for internships or careers, or even, like you said, to get advice on certain things. Because you have access to them, it's so much easier to get access to, different information and, build some of these networks. So I really appreciate you sharing that for us. Yuqiao, I'd love to hear, what advice would you give to the great folks who are interested in this program?
I think just enjoy and have fun, and then just explore whatever the things that interest you the most. Because in the MMD, the marketing management digital program, you will get exposed to some digital marketing and also luxury marketing. But just like you have plenty of time to decide whatever the career development or like the career path that you want it to be. But just enjoy the program, and then to learn whatever the things that you can learn, not just from the textbook, but also from your peers, and then from your like the projects or like the programs that we will have. And then just enjoy your leisure time, because that's very precious when we enter into work. Yeah. And yeah, just have fun.
Yes, I wish this is something, I took my master's many, many years ago, and I think it is an amazing experience, probably the best part of your guys' life. It was for me. So really, really taking the time to, like you said, have fun, enjoy the experience. It doesn't come very often in life. So I appreciate you sharing that with the folks as well. So good reminders for all to stop, enjoy the process. And like you said, learn not only from the textbooks and professors, but also the concept of peer-to-peer learning. I think it's something we really, really try to do in the ESSEC classroom, is have everyone learn from their peers as well as the professor, because everyone has different perspectives. Everyone has something to share. So thank you so much for sharing that, Yuqiao.
Thank you.
All right, Madeline, would you want to share your experience, and maybe something advice you'd give to the students here?
Sure. So hi, I'm Madeline. I am currently in PCG. Prior to this, I was part of the ESSEC SMIT program. And I would say that one of the biggest takeaway actually from the program was the Asian Strategy Challenge. Just something that I'll share with my team from ESSEC was that the project I'm doing right now is very similar to the project that I did at ESSEC. And I think it gave me a very good heads up, into how I can get the work done, how I can get the data, how I can do the analysis. So that's one good thing about ESSEC, right? We have this, when you work with real clients, you get real industry experience. I think that's something that's very valuable that not many schools are able to provide.
Yeah, so the real world experience, is there any particular time or moment that kind of stood out that you felt, oh, I'm learning so much in the real world?
Yes, so we were working with this client, a French client who wants to enter the Chinese market. It's a very niche market on quality assurance, where there's very limited data available, where we had to do a lot of analysis, a lot of triangulation of the data to actually find the right market size, to find the right markets to enter actually. So I think that in itself is very applicable to the consulting work that I'm doing right now. And I think that's pretty relevant. And it gives, it gives you that confidence booster when clients appreciate the work that you have done. And it also gives you that confidence booster to know that, you're going into the workforce with the skill sets and the knowledge required to actually excel in the work that you're doing.
That's a very good point that we haven't touched on, is this concept of confidence in the workplace. I know this is something that I struggled with, when I was your guys' age, is, I did well in the classroom, but then going into, a boardroom, it's quite scary. So if you're just jumping right into the deep end, it can be quite nerve-wracking. But like I said, through these chairs, through these projects, it sounds like you had the opportunity to kind of dip your toes into the water to see, get your comfort level. And then, after graduation, it sounds like you were able to, get in much more comfortable faster than maybe your peers would have been.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. It's great, guys. Because we have a few more time. You guys have any questions? Yuting, Satish, if you guys have any questions, let us know in the Q&A. We'd love to answer those. Otherwise, Madeline, I'd love to ask you the same question. What advice would you give to the great folks who are watching and listening to today's session? For those who are interested in the program, what advice would you give them?
I would say one advice is to stay open-minded. And so the courses that I was in, right, the SMIT program is very fast-paced. So one thing I would say is to learn to manage your time well when you're in the program, and also just embrace whatever the courses are, because they are very diverse. It may be a bit challenging for students without business background, but I think it's a very great opportunity for students to also gain exposure to the business world. So I think that's something that I will share.
Yeah, I think it's a question that my students always get, is time management. How do you manage your time? Like you said, you're going to your classes, you're working on presentations and things like that. You're building strategies for real world clients. How do you manage your schedule and your time? Any tips for the folks here?
I think the main idea here is to prioritize your task. So we look at the importance of the task, right, as well as the urgency of the task. So of course, you want to prioritize tasks that are urgent as well as of high priority. So those are the things that I will always focus on. There are a lot of projects that we do in the SMIT program. I think communicating with the team is also very important to make sure that the team are aware of the deadlines and knowing what needs to be done, so that the work get delivered on time.
That's a really good advice. So I've seen that kind of matrix where it is priority on one side and then urgency on the other side. And then you said the quadrant that ticks both those buckets. It is high priority, high urgency. Those are the ones you focus on.
Yes.
Awesome. We have some questions coming in. Harshit asks again, great question. What can students coming out of ESSEC showcase to stand out in front of recruiters? I think that's a wonderful question, guys. I'll open it to anyone here. What can students coming out from ESSEC showcase to stand out in front of recruiters? Maybe when you guys were getting your internship or jobs, what are some of the things that you guys did or showcased that maybe helped you land your internship or your job?
Maybe I can start and then others can take it from there.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to add here is that it's all about how you present yourself. That's what I've learned, because I know you should have industry knowledge, you should have the job skill that is required for that internship or for that full-time job. But it's all about how you can showcase your current skills and the motivation of what you want to learn while you're in that particular position, in that internship or in that job. So what I did was I always leveraged on my ESSEC experience. Firstly, I always reflected back upon what I had learned in the classroom, how I had actually leveraged upon all the extra things that ESSEC had to offer to me in terms of networking with others, or doing different projects. It could be anything, not just academic projects, some social projects or any other activity as well. And then also a bit about my background from where I come and what I've learned so far. Why did I actually take this big step of joining ESSEC? Because ESSEC, as I said, is very diverse in what it offers. So why that in the first place? And I was actually able to then connect the dots because it was all about telling them where I was before ESSEC. Then why did I choose ESSEC to go where I want to be in the long run? And that actually helped me convince them that I am a good fit for them. And luckily, it just worked out for me because I did get some internships and now a full-time job in Dublin. So yeah, like that is what I can maybe add here, but I'm sure others have different opinions here.
Nice. I love it. Yuqiao, Madeline, anything you want to share with the students in terms of things they can showcase when they graduate from ESSEC in terms of standing out in front of recruiters?
I think first of all is because as I in my department, the marketing management digital, I think there are a lot of chances that you will do the presentations. So first of all, you will be very confident to express yourself and then to express very correctly, and then also like in your own styles to the recruiters. And secondly, because we already have a lot of projects, and then there are a lot of things that, for example, the DMC, there's not everyone will have a chance to work with CATIA for the projects. And then especially for the luxury tracks or the FMCG tracks, if the recruiters from the Richmond or recruiters from the LVMH saw your resume and then got a DMC project that work with the CATIA, then you already stand out to among your peers already. So that's something that as I prepare us in a very good way to actually translate us into the corporate world. So don't worry about that. And then I think definitely every other student can stand out in front of the recruiters.
Awesome. Yeah, I think definitely having those names in a CV or in a job interview definitely helps out quite a lot. Madeline, question for you. What can you showcase?
Yeah, so from my end, because I was from the SMIT program under the strategy track, and I'm in the consulting industry. So something that really stood out to the recruiters was actually my Asian strategy challenge. The same challenge where we actually work with real clients for 7 to 8 months long. We developed a go-to-market strategy where the client was really, really happy about. And the comment that the client gave was, this is something that he just have to press the go button and they can actually implement the strategy. So when you bring this kind of credentials in front of the recruiters, it really says a lot about the quality of the students at ESSEC. And I think that really helps students to stand out in their interviews, definitely.
Yeah, this is something I was telling my students just this morning, is that having the projects, having the great names, I think is incredible. But to your point, having results, if you're working with a client for 7 to 8 months, you're going to have probably some kind of results that you can showcase. And I can guarantee you a lot of folks that are your guys' age when you're finishing a program will not have those. So if I'm a job, I'm a hiring manager, I'm looking at multiple CVs, and this one has, okay, this school, but this one has the results they've gotten when they were still in school. Once again, it's a pretty easy decision in terms of who you're going with, because once again, for a lot of hiring managers, there's a lot of hesitation. There's a lot of apprehension. So that eases that apprehension when I can say, okay, this person has worked with the likes of Cartier, Accenture, and so on. One, it shows me that they're working with the best in the world. And two, they can showcase real results, not only in terms of the stuff they've learned in the classroom, that's absolutely wonderful, but they can showcase the results they're getting with some of these real high caliber clients. So I think that is something that you will only get in a program like this, obviously quite biased, but I think, it is a very special thing. So I really appreciate everyone sharing their, experiences. If there's no other questions, guys, I'll go ahead and wrap things up, but we have the good folks here. Miko, is there a way they can get in touch if they're interested in the program? Maybe we'll drop you a link after this session. Okay, Miko added it in the chat here. So thank you guys so much. Like I said, we really look forward to joining. Sorry, we have one last question, then we'll wrap things up. Okay, yeah, I think we talked about this earlier. So these are not necessarily guaranteed. I think there are folks who are, competing for these slots, but going back to Harshit's point, if you're motivated and you really show that you're hungry, there are tons of opportunities. Stuff we haven't talked about, like case competitions and tons of stuff that's probably ready for another session, but hopefully that answers it. So guys, thank you so much for joining today's session. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much to Stella. Thank you so much for our panelists for sharing experiences. Really appreciate it. Awesome, guys. Well, I will bid you adieu. Thank you guys so much, and I look forward to seeing you guys all in the classrooms next semester. So have a wonderful evening, morning, wherever you are, and we'll hopefully see you very soon. Thank you so much for joining today's session.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.